All right. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. I'm thinking about the good times. All right. Hey, welcome to Let 'Em Cook. My name is Zaid Tabani.
And I'm Sankola.
Man, it has been a minute. And you know what's kind of funny? It's been a minute because we actually recorded 2 other episodes and didn't upload them because some of us got really busy. Cola, why did you not edit and upload? I'm so upset with you for getting so busy and shirking your responsibilities. Just typical commentator privilege. Just not even caring.
Okay, first of all, it's commentator and content creator. Second of all,
we're big now.
There's some content out here, yeah. Listen, we're back. You may have missed a few episodes, but hey, we're back in business, okay?
It's Panda all over again. That's what I have to say.
You can leave that in.
Nah, man, but we're finally back. It's good to be back. We're gonna try to do this more consistently, even though both of us have girl bossed a little too close to the sun with our careers and everything like that. But man, I think the only way to adequately start this off is to talk about the biggest event that happened a couple weeks ago, and we'll talk a little bit more about how it's relevant now. But EVO was 2 weeks ago at this point, and it was an amazing moment in the fighting game community. It was a giant spectacle if you saw it online. Cola, how was your EVO? Because I think both of us were kind of working the event even more so this year than other years. How was your EVO? How was your experience? How'd you feel?
Brother, it was hella busy. I'm busy every single year when EVO hits. If it's not content creation, it's commentary stuff. So I had the Capcom booth. I was working out at that. Then I did Guilty Gear Strive commentary. Then I did Street Fighter 6 commentary. Then I was hitting up the booths. Then I was saying hello to people I haven't seen in years or first time meeting, stuff like that. Then I was helping out at the TNS in Reversal Suite and a lot more other things that I cannot mention. But it was the busiest time of year. How Christmas is the most wonderful time for year for people getting presents and stuff like that. For me, it was working the 9 to 5 plus overtime, bro. It was the busiest time of year for me. But I loved it. It's whatever I could do to help grow the scene. I think that's kind of the case with everybody now at EVO. You're there to not only play, but just wanting to grow the scene in whatever way that you can give back to is a beautiful thing.
I think it's kind of interesting this year, especially because the amount of people who are really kind of doubling down on content and just the ecosystem being more content heavy, right? You see a lot more even smaller creators, right, are not just kind of going to pools. They're trying to figure out different kind of things to do, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot more networking and everything like that. I think something that I wanted to bring up that I think is really interesting is Rick is kind of especially in the last couple of years, we've gotten more of a community focus with that giant arcade in the middle. There's more stuff to do,
it's
right?
Fire.
There's way more, focus about interacting and being social. But I think something else that's happened is that, prior to kind of the changing of the guard and everything like that, a lot of people would complain man, EVO's getting too corporate. It's getting too kind of lifeless. I think it's kind of melding both of those kind of worlds, hey, this is a business kind of thing, as well as this is a place for community kind of hang out and be social. And I like that a lot more than, kind of where we were a couple years back. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it felt it felt a couple years back, if you were a small creator, you have kind of no avenue to, you just have to kind of put that aside and enjoy the festivities, or you have to really make something work. Now it seems there is kind of an avenue, and there is kind of, more people are interacting with you. There's more of an ecosystem for everybody to kind of benefit, when they come to this kind of an event. And then there was, a few years back and prior, which I think is a positive development more so than anything.
No, that's good. No, this is, as long as it keeps an even ground, I think this is a good thing, right? Players getting paid for their hard work. As we've seen, content creators having more access, as you put it, being able to be on the floor and gain more access to Project L and stuff like that, demos and things like that. Talk to developers, talk to the booths, which have been expanding to beyond just artwork and stuff like that. We've seen, any keys out there too as well. I think all those coalesce into like a good storm of things to do for the casuals and the hardcore, and that helps grow and give people purpose to go out to the event. Like you go out to an event, you spending like 3 bands to be out there, bro. Like flying out there, hotel and stuff like that. Maybe cut that down if you're savvy enough. But so it's a lot of money to be out there and play, and they have nothing to do afterwards besides casuals and stuff like that, and eat at some overpriced buffet. Like, I think it's good that we have a lot more to do at EVO in general. Like I said, I was at the Capcom booth, and they had a whole thing with that setups for people to play. You can bet your money that you would earn doing various activities in this money match sort of thing for a first or two. Then if you win, you can earn that money back plus more in this whirlwind of cash. You can grab the cash. I forgot what it's called, but it's like you grab the cash while it's blown in your face and stuff like that. It just made for like a really fun time. It made for a really exciting and fun time, and it just made me want to be there even longer instead of just being like, all right, wow, I lost, so I'm salty, I'm going to go back to my hotel.
My EVO was fairly stressful for like the first 2 days, because we were trying to upload the fucking album to Spotify in time and trying to get all of that up. Like there was this whole fucking cacophony of like so pretty much I got there and we uploaded it, and then we got rejected because they thought that one of the songs, they thought the KOF song was a cover song. So we got rejected from district, and then you have to re-enter all of the information of everybody, and there's like 40 to 50 different people we have to enter their Spotify URL and their Apple Music URL. So it's like an hour to upload the album, and so we had to upload it like 6 or 7 times. And like the whole time on Saturday, I'm like, I don't think this is gonna go up by Monday. And thankfully, thank God it went up by Monday. We were also worried because like the first couple days, like we weren't getting like the social posts the way we needed to go, and like obviously it worked out, right? But it was kind of crazy and everything like that, and touch and go in moments. You know, I feel like one of the best parts of the EVO experience is like post the hall, right? Like you can hang out in the hallway, but you know, like this time I finally got some time to just kind of jump into some salty sweets, and watching Vicious versus Jabali was such a fucking great that was stressful and very, very fun at the same time. But like that's the kind of stuff I like, you know. It's just like a bunch of people hanging out and being like, what the fuck, yo, they're running sets here, which I think is such a cool, like it's a cool vibe, you know, that I think specifically Street Fighter 6 has brought.
Even at that salty suite that wasn't maybe always open to the public, it was still great to see the players like come up and talk and, you know, discuss stuff. It still felt like, even though there's production behind it and there was, you know, obviously we were broadcasting it, it was obviously made for the players, right? It was made so the players could play, and we even had it open for days upon days so people can come up and play and stuff like that. There's obviously the Hawaiian suite from you know, Papa Valle. He let the whole community into his joint, or as many as he could fit at least. It was definitely packed. It was also broadcasting his stuff too as well. It felt like, you know, you added stuff, but you didn't like take away from like what the FGC is about. It wasn't like, you know, you're like, oh yeah, this is really, really about the production and stuff like that. We need you guys to come in and we're gonna have like the camera focus on you and stuff like that. It was more like, yo, sit down, play these matches, let's have some fun. There's a moment where Shao Hai was showing off his cash and stuff like that on stream that he won. Yeah, it was funny, bro. It was a good time. I feel like people that say that it's too corporate, like you gotta be there, bro. It don't feel like that to me.
I think that's something that we should talk about. So I think like do you feel like, from what we saw at this event, from how this event played out to the masses, where are we at before this kind of blows up? I think we're in a good trajectory, but like what stuff have we gotten from the previous era that is positive, and where do we need to go in order to make this blow up to an exponential standard? And I mean like things like Gamers 8. Yes, there's a lot of money involved, right? But what do we have now that we didn't before, and what's missing?
I think what we have, honestly, is ways to showcase like why this is so great. Like before, we had documentaries, we had videos and stuff like that, but they weren't like visually that good, right? They were culturally good for us because we like, hey, we in the scene, we don't watch, you know, any of that stuff. Whatever comes up, we'll watch whatever it is. But if you show it to somebody outside, they don't care about that, right?
Well, I disagree a little bit, because I made a fucking documentary, you asshole. But
okay.
but
I know.
But I understand what you mean. But I think the other side of that too is that like all of the documentaries that we made were always like, oh, by the way, do you know this thing exists? This thing exists, right? And
yeah,
after a while, there's only so many documentaries you can make. By the way, there are these people who play fighting games, you know? You have to have documentaries that have a better, like a more specific point of view on the scene. Yeah. Other than just like, hey, here's some players and they play these games. Isn't that neat? You know, there's a lot more to it, I feel like, than that.
And it's not to discount yours or any anything that's come prior, right? It's not. In fact, I feel like a lot of what we have now is built upon that, you know, built upon what we see from the FGC like lens, but we've added more like production behind it, more storyline in terms of like, you know, how we structure things. You know, it's not like the stuff that we had was bad, but if you showcase it to somebody outside the scene, there's a chance that they may not be as involved or wanting to watch or whatever. Because I've tried a lot with a lot of documentaries that we have in the FGC, and people just kind of and I'm like, really? And because it's interesting to us, but to people outside.
It's tough. It's tough to, like, again, that's the same thing. I'm not to interrupt, but like, it's the same thing. Like, it's just, they all feel like you're trying to show somebody, they all feel like they're trying to show somebody this neat thing that they found, as opposed to talking about what the storylines are with it. Like you were saying, like what the storylines are within it, right? Like Mike Ross had a documentary called Focus, I think. And that's great because it's following Mike and it's following his life and it's following his story. Bang the Machine follows his story. My documentary also visually needed work. I'm very well aware of 2010 My Problems, but like that also follows like a visual story. I feel a lot of times like trying to showcase like this is a cool community that exists. After I think everybody knows that esports communities are entertaining, and we just kind of homogenize ourselves if we're just, oh, this is an esports documentary. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of know what it is, as opposed to like what's special about it.
And you know, all that we've collected in terms of like what to do better and what we can improve upon has led to the past maybe 5-6-ish years, I would say, around that era. We have like Reversal making fantastic documentaries that are like Netflix quality. There's like things outside the FGC that are being made of our players. I've seen some stuff of Mena RD. There are interviews that we have at EVO done of these players. Actually, you know, Seth Killian doing interviews of, you know, various people in the industry too as well. And I feel like even the content creators that we have, you know, even the small ones that maybe y'all don't even watch are doing a mad amount of work to showcase, you know, what we're doing, what's so great, but to storyline it better, you know, to package it better. And I think that's a thing that we were missing prior, that now I can show people that stuff, and I have shown people that stuff, and they're like, oh, this is super interesting. And sometimes it's just the packaging. And that's, again, not to defame anything that we've had previously in the past, you know, 6 years. I will say that we've gotten a lot better about that stuff, and that trajectory is only getting better every single year.
I think you're absolutely right about the packaging. I think it's not been in a way like, look, I was being tongue in cheek about the documentary thing, but obviously the packaging has needed work, and the stuff Reversal is doing with documentaries is so leaps and bounds above what I think has been done in this scene. I think there is a little bit of like, I think there are like things that they can improve on, right? But their heart is like 100% in the right place, and their work is stunning. It's like an hour-long feast of like of high quality work with a lot of love behind it, right? You know, and they just keep going to try to make sure they build on something. And I think that's something that's the model that a lot of people wanted but didn't have the resources to do. And now with the technology and what we have these days, it seems like it's something that I wish they would get more views, man, because like that should be like 100, 200,000 views, you know, for the quality that they're putting out. It's amazing stuff.
It's fantastic, and honestly, they deserve more. I'm sure that at some point we'll have that boost, but I think that's in my opinion one of the bigger things that's going to like boost us up, because we need more people from outside the scene. We're in this era where we are pulling people outside the scene, but we need more, and that is done by content. As much as people don't want to hear it, that is done by content. And thankfully, we have a lot of great content creators, a lot of people in the FGC that have either been working or just started recently to pull more people in through their content, to expressing why this stuff is so great. So hey, like, again, you know, I understand maybe we weren't the best, you know, previously, and honestly, some of that's just like how the content wave has happened, and FGC is now latching on to that. But like, to me, if we can get that packaged correctly, we can really showcase these stories and show people why we love this stuff, instead of just saying, hey, we have a cool event, bam, we're here, and then just like walking away. I think that will help like give us that exposure that we need for the people outside the FGC to come in and give us more people to help us. Not only like also that's also keeping people too as well. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
This I didn't know about this cool story. Even more reason for me to stick around. Or this person had like Mina RD's path to another Capcom Cup champion, and his path at CEO and stuff like that. Right. Seeing his victory and how he didn't think he was going to latch onto this game like he did, and then getting that W, and then he does some that might turn someone's mind around and be like, let me give it one more try. That kind of thing. Like I got one more in me.
I think what's interesting too is like if you look at the numbers for EVO in general, look like that arena fits about 12K people, right? And about 9,000 entered EVO, and the arena was sold out, which means there's about 3,000 extra people who were in that arena versus the amount of people who entered, right? Like look, there's a bunch of, EVO always breaks attendance records for people who enter the tournament. That's one thing. But I think transitioning a little bit more to the acceptance of it being a spectator sport and being able to be, because I think before, like especially in the Street Fighter 4 era, even in the Street Fighter 5 era, Street Fighter 4 era was, hey, you're not playing, you're just somebody who's a spec. Like that was kind of, I don't know why it was weirdly looked down upon. Like you're like oh, you're really gonna like you're there was like a classist kind of thing with that. And then Street Fighter 5 was very esports, very homogenized. Like we want to be league, and that didn't work out as well. I feel like this is a nice kind of like homegrown. Again, it's like a nice like home cooked meal. It's like street food, right? It tastes good, right? It's not overly packaged or overly done, right? And you can approach it whichever way you want, and it's fine. So people being able to be fans of Mena and Punk and like really like root for Mena, root for Punk. There was a lot of like the people I went with this year have been competitors before, and they just came to just kind of watch this time, and they had a blast, right? For every game. And I think that's the model we have to have, where it's like, look, you can fall in love with this game and you can enjoy this game, but you can also just kind of like watch it and have a good time. I know a lot of people, it's funny, the Smash scene has done this really, really well, because even people who play Smash, I know so many people who play Smash and Smash Ultimate who don't really care about, like, who know, like, I will never really get into this or play it like the highest level, but I like playing this with my friends, and watching people play at a high level is really enjoyable to me, and that model is there for them. I think that Street Fighter has struggled with that model, and is finally at this point where the game is exciting enough to watch, the players are exciting enough and interesting enough to learn about, right? And the presentation of everything is about the people, as opposed to like, look at these system mechanics and look at our esports and everything like that. I think where we're at, that makes this a very healthy place to be, versus, where we were before, where it's just like, oh, well, Ryu needs 2 frames on this, or this character is dominant. That's still there, but yeah, I've seen more talk about meta and Angry Bird and players than I've seen about system mechanics over the last like 2-3 weeks, which is, I think, a very good sign. Yeah,
I like that mix, man. I like that mix where it's everything about fighting games and everybody about fighting games, rather than you hyper focus on one aspect or the other. That just makes it a lot more inclusive, and that's what we want, is more people in the scene from that. I guess I want to throw that question right back at you, though. Like, what do you think? Where do you think we need to go to expand even more so? In a similar way, but without just content. Like, what else could we do to ride the wave even better?
I think we talked about this like on the episodes that we didn't release, but one of the things was we were talking about a lot about the cultural aspect of it and comparing it to other sports and everything like that, other kind of cultural movements and everything like that. And I think I always go back to the NBA. Well, a lot of people say tennis, but like the NBA is like a big thing for me, because it's like, it's music, it's fashion, it's all those things. I think that was hitting on all cylinders this year, because I think people stopped taking certain things too seriously and doubled down on other things. I think like one thing that I am really proud about with the music aspect of things this year, and I know I'm involved with the event, but something that I was really happy about was there was a culture around the musicality of everything here, and that's important to me because even when we put out those feelers for who can do music in the scene, watching people even have discussions about, and it was a little annoying, discussions about reggaeton in KOF or discussions about Run Back City and the cultural impact of Run Back City. Watching all of those discussions happen is important because that should be what we're talking about as well. That has to be a part of that zeitgeist, So I think that's a positive thing. I do think still that while the storylines, the players are there, and we're definitely moving there, there needs to be a better engine for that to be the monetization aspect of the scene. I think it's great that Gamers 8 has so much money involved. It's great that Capcom Cup has so much money involved. Maybe that will continue, but there's going to be a point where it lulls for a little bit. And in order for people to be able to make a living off of this, I think every single person, even out of that 7,000 person tournament, who had a showing there, has an opportunity to parlay this into something that is a sponsorship, that is something that people can see, because it's visible. You're very visible. And I think like we've talked about it, like the types of sponsors that we have, they can't just be arcade sticks. They got to be like sodas. They got to be like energy drinks. They got to be food. They got to be clothing. I think people have tried to really expand that, and without getting too corporate, there need, like, again, it's street food. Everybody's got to have their own like food truck a little bit, because there's an insatiable thirst for it. People like going to different kind of things. They like the variety, and that variety was present this year. I think that's kind of the missing ingredient, honestly. Like if Mena RD, like I knew a lot about Mena RD this year, and I knew a lot about Punk this year, and I knew a lot about, I knew a little bit more about Angry Bird than I did before. I think I can learn more, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things where it's like players are like, their story is evangelized so much through the year and even through the event that by the time they jump up on stage, you don't need to know them, but you have to have heard of them a little bit. And I feel like that wasn't as present in 2016. Even though I knew who IDOM was and I knew a lot of players, there are certain players who I didn't know very well, but I knew about Mena, and I knew about Angry Bird, and I knew about Punk. And if I didn't know about Shanghai, I found out very quickly, right? There was a storyline to every single player and how they were playing. Even with like 5 Kens and 4 J, like even with the amount of JPs and the amount of Kens,
right?
What separates it is like, look, Third Strike for a long time had 4 fucking characters, or like it's Dudley, June, Chun, or Ken, right? And Makoto, but like, calm down. But like, it was like 4 characters, and it was still some of the most interesting shit because you knew where those players were coming from. You knew there was a story behind them. The way they played the game was so different. I think also that, like, what do you, as a commentator, like, do you see, I feel like everybody plays the game differently, right? Like, I've never seen, like compared to Street Fighter 5 and even Street Fighter 4 to an extent, I think watching 2 JP players is interesting, and watching 2 Ken players is interesting because they do play the game a little bit differently. I don't always, like, I don't see Tokido and Angry Bird. I think those are 2 very different styles.
No, you're right. Even looking at like Fujimura Ken, Tokido's Ken, and like and Angry Birds Ken, you could even go like how differently they use the bar, how they aim to kill the drive gauge and stuff like that. And how this isn't just like a Street Fighter thing. This just felt like a lot of these games have gotten better about this. You look at Guilty Gear, the new patch is definitely going to be able to differentiate more and more because the bar usage in terms of like this player plays like this and this player plays like that.
Yeah.
But go back to Street Fighter, it does feel like even more so I can tell who is who on the sticks. I could with 5. After some certain interactions, I look for certain interactions like, oh, okay, well, they're not DPing like here, so that's probably this person. Or they're an absolute nut, so it's probably GOP, whatever.
Man,
right?
I don't want to be, tell me if I'm interrupting too much and tell me to shut up too, but like, bro, like, I feel like, I just want to say, we've talked about 5 before. I have never seen the glaring issues. Like, look, we know that 5 was a good game at the end of it. We always say that. But we have never seen the glaring issues of a spectator sport that 5 was until we had this, because the like there was no barrier. There's such a low barrier of entry for anybody to start watching it. It was so not hard to get people to like kind of fuck with. You know what's interesting? I went out with I like one of the Project L people. His name's Eugene Kane. He's a really cool dude. Also a member of Pentacle. You know, he was telling me about this party he was at, and like it was like a barbecue with friends before EVO, and somebody booted up Street Fighter 6. And immediately in my brain, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a good time. You know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, and you see that with like, especially in like video games and culture, like somebody's booting up Smash or Mario Kart. That seems like a good time. And with 5, we never really had that. Like if somebody booted up Street Fighter 5 at a party, you're like, bro, we're at a party, right? Street Fighter 6, it's like, oh, this seems like it'll be fun. It looks cool. Like at the bare minimum, it looks cool.
Yeah.
And it looks flashy, and there's going to be some fun, crazy shit that happens. Right? And I think that barrier of entry is not... you don't have to cross a moat to fall in love with this game. Right?
You don't
have to read an encyclopedia.
Especially when it was on release. Yeah, with 5 being on release and how it was. You know, like if I go to a party with 6... Maybe people don't want to be sweats. That's okay. Maybe they can play the mini games and stuff like that. So dynamic controls. Real quick to pivot off that just for a second. Like I went to a Canadian Expo event that had Street Fighter 6, and we had like a thing at the end where we were like inviting people on the stage to play the game. And so I put it on dynamic mode for the kids to play, and they were having a blast. You know, and that's not even like, this isn't really like a 5 thing or like, you know, just like whatever, but it's just like this game in particular had modes to prepare for these moments, so that people want to just mess around, they can. And again, that's like a package deal sort of thing where it's like, I don't have to, you know, if I see a thing at 5, if I see a Street Fighter 5 at an event, I'm probably gonna get a little sweaty. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm probably there to like play, so like, oh, you will sit down and play. Like, you know, with 6, it feels like, you know, beyond system mechanics, the visuals and stuff like that, how, you know, the mini games are and stuff like that. There's a lot of that variance in there that I can switch it up and not just be a try hard. I can be like, hey, we can play whatever, or we can make it like this, or I have modern controls, so you can maybe you don't have to focus on utilizing, you know, the Hadouken motion or whatever. Like you just do it like forward
flavor.
Punch. Yes. And I'm a 5 lover, so you know that's a lot for me to say. You know,
I like, but again, like again, we can look. I love 5, right? Like now, I think it's a great game. Now, I think the entire scene is kind of saying it without saying it, which is like 5 is a great game where it ended, but spectator-wise, it was lacking. And it was lacking for accessibility. It was the simplest version of that game, and simplicity did not make it as fun. I heard Vaya talking about this, where he was saying, you know, in 4, Vaya was saying, in 4, I was mad that people weren't taking this seriously. In 5, we all took it way too seriously, and it just squeezed out the like everybody's a competitor.
Oh yeah.
In 6, you can just hang, right? We don't have physical Wednesday night fights anymore. We have like Barcode. People in California, we have this place called Thirsty Thursday where you just go to the bar and you hang out with people, and you're not necessarily wanting to get sets. You're just hanging out with people and being social. And that was the environment at Wednesday night fights for a while, and then it became super serious. And he was like, dude, I think we squeezed too much of the fun out of the game, and it needs to be fun to just kind of come out. It's a party. You're hanging out with everybody.
Yeah.
Because that's the part of EVO I like.
Speaking of community, let's talk about this recent post, or I guess it wasn't really super recent because we've had some time since podcasts, but I read a post basically talking about how top players gravitate towards other top players and don't really hang out with the lower rungs. Now, I'm gonna be first off, I'm gonna say this right off the bat. I'm not even that mad about that post, to be honest. Even though I disagree about that post, I'm not that mad because I don't know that person in terms of what they've dealt with, what they've had to go through. You know, maybe they've had some bad experiences, so I will not discount their experiences at all. And I'm sure maybe they've had some stuff happen on their side, right? So like
I will say that I'm not gonna discount their experiences. I know the post.
Okay.
But like, here's the problem with my assertion.
Okay.
That's like every fucking industry with top people. Like, that's not like the fuck. Look, first off, you are going to, in any like competitive sport or like any like vocation that you do, music, fucking film, right? the people who are producing the most content or working in that space at whatever level they're at, the highest level, are gonna gravitate towards each other because nobody else has that experience. It's not intentionally trying to leave people out. It's just the thing that they're focused on is the thing that they're focused on. I am friends with you and friends with Justin and a couple other top players, right? I met Punk this weekend. Punk didn't know who the fuck I was. And like, I had 12,000 people stand up on their feet and do shit for fucking Runback City, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is like, I'm a well-known, like, I'm a pretty well-known dude, but Punk doesn't know who the fuck I am because he doesn't hang out, and he's not supposed to. Like, I'm not the guy in his circle who's supposed to be getting that kind of attention. Like, if, like, it's not his fault, right? If I work, I work in music, right? There's a lot of top players who I've never fucking heard of, because of just what I'm focused on. It's not a personal thing. And I think that if you take it personally, it fucks things up. You know, like it's not, I don't know, man. I feel like everybody has their lane to an extent. I get it, but I think the dude also, without casting aspersions, I think dude is like he's just in a different scene, man. Like, we're all in different scenes. It's not an intentional. I get the feeling. Sometimes you're like, what the fuck, bro? You're not gonna fucking, why can't you just be chill? It's not you. It's just they have other things that they are focused on.
I 100% like, I get it too as well. Like, I get from people like outside their perspective when they look in, they're like, well, why can't I hang out with like the pro players and stuff like that? But you're right in terms of like, if you're like, let's say you're a pro player and you're looking for practice, you ain't gonna come to me. And I do not even bother pro players majority of the time to practice or play sets or whatever, unless it's very casually, because they're doing their thing, getting ready for their event. Like, that's them doing their stuff, right? Yeah. If they want to go out to eat, we go out to eat, whatever. We vibe because we're friends. We have similar interests. Sometimes I don't have similar interests with certain players, stuff like that. There are players from Japan that I have similar interests and I hang out with sometimes more than people in America, especially at events and stuff like that. And sometimes I hang out with TNS because we're just actively working on stuff, and it's like, hey, you guys want to go out to eat? And then we just go out to eat. In fact, EVO was mostly TNS and Reversal people that I hung out with, and then, you know, I was able to see you and stuff like that, and a few other people. The majority was spent by people we work with. Because I'm in business mode, and it's not like saying, bro, I don't want to hang out with these people. And for some people, they only have so much like mental energy or social energy, I should say. At a certain point, they're like, I can't really like take in the thousands of people that hang out with me. It's not really like it might feel like that, but most players, there's not all of them. There are some players that you probably are definitely right about. But most players, you know, do want to at least talk to you for at least a second, or do want to hang out with you. Or if they're sitting on a station, they will play with you. And the point of that, that I wanted to like disperse what that tweet is, I don't want people to read that and be like, oh, I can't go up to anybody in the scene that is perceived as higher than me. That's untrue. But that's the problem is that, like, I get that, and I don't want to diminish anybody's experience, whether that be that person or anybody else. Maybe they had a bad one. I ain't gonna say they're wrong in how they feel. But I will say to people that haven't had those experiences, or maybe are on the fence to talking to somebody, to go out there and just at least try, you know what I'm saying? And like, if you have a bad one with somebody, hey, that person sucks, we move on. All right, there's thousands of people, 11,000 plus people that are at EVO, bro. Like, you can find somebody else to hang out with and chill out with. I've also ran into people that were like, yo, saying, I didn't want to say hi to you because I was afraid. I'm like, bro, I'm a shitter, okay? All I do is yell on the mic, bro. We are all the same. We are all humans. Like, please come up to me. And that's me saying I'm okay with that. If I want to protect my peace, I'd be like, you know, if I'm busy, you know, maybe I'll catch you on the sly or something like that. But for the most part, if I'm not busy, if I'm just chilling, come say hi. I'm cool with that, you know?
Yeah, and I think like, honestly, like, to the person, like, without no disrespect, but like, bro, like, it's just a different environment. And like, I have been, like, just from personal experience, going to a party in LA is different from going to an FGC party in New York, right? Going to a Twitch party, like there's different. The vibe is so different, and it's not bad. They're the same in a certain way, right? But like, people have different kind of lifestyles, and everybody can get down and have a good time and let loose, right? But like, you can't expect everybody to be the same kind of person. this is a name drop, but one of my friends is like a big fucking Netflix writer, right? So I went to like a party at their house that they were getting engaged, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go come hang out with you. And fucking, I saw the guy who was I met the guy who was show running the One Piece show on Netflix, like a year before they announced it. And like, he was showing me the Going Merry and all the shit that they're doing. And like, I got to hang out with that guy, and I got to hang out with a lot of other people there. And the thing that I noticed that I hung out with a lot of other people there is sometimes people are just like super cool. It's like, yeah, let's just fucking hang out. You do music, that's cool. Sometimes people are doing a bunch of inside jokes about being a writer in Hollywood. And I am not vibing with that. But that's everywhere you go. Like, if you go into a space where it's about video games, some people are fucking chill, and a lot of people are just focused on their craft because that's their fucking life, you know? Like, if you go to a bar and you're trying to, like, there are some people who want to like hook up with people, and there are some people who just want to fucking be there with their friends and not be bothered by other dudes. Like, it's just the way life is. And
it's a mix.
Thinking that you can barrel your way through it, and like everybody's gonna like come up to you and just your charisma is gonna fucking win people over. Nah, dude, like you're climbing up a hill that's like vertical.
Yeah, I feel like it's even I've had instances where I was like, I can feel like I don't vibe with that person. It's like, hey, all right, see you later. You know what I'm saying? Like, and and again, going back to like, I just don't want people to think that they can't come up to people, at least to start the conversation, and then see where it goes. And if it doesn't go, if you're not going out to eat with them every single night, that's okay. Like, there's plenty of people in the FGC that you can hang out with. But I think at the very base level, you can have a conversation with the majority of pro players, commentators, whatever it may be. You can have at least a base, like, hello, how you doing? Hey, love what you do. Hey, hopefully you have a good time out here. What character you play? You know, and see where it goes from there. And again, like, I've had bad interactions sometimes when I was first, starting in the FGC, when I came out a lot more events, because I was an old head, and then I came offline. I was like, bro, I've seen these people, but I've never talked to them. They don't know who the fuck I am. They probably just know me by, maybe my forum name, and I probably said some head ass shit. So, like, maybe those are things that, like, there's variance, right? There's always gonna be variance. But I will say this though, like, maybe, people are getting like a little frightened, like, what stories do we have? But like, I can tell you one thing. I met Idom in person at Capcom Cup 2019, and we and his team went out to eat together, bro. I was nobody, and we're all nobody, but you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't, even before that, like, I met Angry Bird. I was just like, bro, I love your Zeku. That dude would talk to me every time I saw him. Hell, Problem X, I saw that MFer walking around the venue, and I was talking to Angry Bird. This is like in 2018. Yeah, about 2018. And like, he heard me say Zeku. He came up to me and during our conversation was like, yeah, Zeku's mad broken, bruv. The thing about Zeku is I think he's like top 5. Bro, Sanford came up too and entered the conversation. So it's like, people saying that they've never seen other like high level players talk to people that are not high level. And during that time, I was only just writing a few articles here and there. I was not that known. Like, that to me is like, I don't, that's not the case. Maybe that happened to you in those instances. That sucks, and I get it. But like, it doesn't happen to everybody. And I don't want people to think that that's an every person kind of thing. It's a case-by-case basis. And just like anything in life, as you pointed out, just take it in stride depending on who you meet. Some people you don't vibe with, that's okay. There's millions of other people that you can vibe with outside of that. In the FGC, you can literally just walk over to the next station and be like, hey man, what's going on? You might find somebody you like, and it doesn't matter if they're a pro player or whatever, or high level or not. Like, it's going to be a cool dude.
It's not that deep, man. Like, I think it's a human problem. It's not an FGC problem. If you're in a space where I'm in and you see a top player and you feel intimidated by fucking talking to them, come talk to me and I'll help you out and I'll introduce you. Like, that's what you got to do, man. Like, it's
same.
That happens at every party. You're not going to be the life of every party, man. Like, it's just going to be that way. Okay, but yeah, man, I think this is a good time coming back. I mean, it's been a little bit, but I think overall we're in a good spot. I'm happy with where the scene is going. I'm happy with the EVO we had, and I'm excited to see where things go, man.
Yeah, man, same. Can't wait to see where things are headed. I know we're heading to a lot more events. There's like PAX coming up, First Attack and stuff, ECT. So hopefully we see everybody out there. And again, if you see us, say hi. At least for me, bro, you can come up and say hi to me. And I'm always down for that kind of stuff. Like, you ain't gotta, I don't know if I can say hi to Saint, bro. I'm a garbage person at video games. I guess I do okay when it comes to commentary. And just like everybody in the FGC, we're all human. We're all the same.
But I think that's going to do it for us today for episode 3, hopefully, of the Let 'Em Cook podcast. My name is Zaid Tabani.
I'm St. Cola.
Guys, if you like this, please like and subscribe. Please share it with your friends. And we'll be back here hopefully next week, same time. And yeah, man, we'll talk to y'all soon.